Hey guys, SebTuth here. Most of the people that watched me have probably played more than enough of Realm of the Mad God, and maybe still do. It's been around for a while, that might be why it could be getting a bit stale. I think we can all agree that the game really is in need of a good update right now. We do get new content time to time, like the reworked Shatters for example, but new content, especially in the current game state, gets old really quick, and it's a shame because there's so much content in the game already. Like, we're getting close to having 100 dungeons, I think, in the game, yet people say they're getting bored of playing and it has a declining player base. What the game instead needs is systems that make the current content more enjoyable and deep. This could have actually been achieved with the dungeon modifiers, for example, but I think money was a bit too much on Decker's mind while designing it, so instead of like cool exaltations, we just got like pay to win ones. So like, for example, ones that actually vary up the gameplay, and occasionally making the game extremely exciting through special mods. Decker actually has another opportunity to achieve this with the enchantment system, but you know what system would add the most value to the current and future content? A PvE mode, that's right. Now this isn't a new idea at all. There's like a monthly post on Reddit of someone saying that they come up with the brand new unique idea of the PvE mode. Now let me explain how it could be implemented into any Realm-like game and why it would be the best thing ever. Just in case you've been living under a pet rock all of your life, a PvE stands for Pet Player Experience, and for a long time it's been a self-imposed set of rules to make the game more fun and interesting. The rules are, you cannot trade, pick up items dropped by other players, and you can't access items from your vault. Well Seb, why the heck would I do that, you idiot? I can just go to my vault, grab pots from my vault and fully max out my character in like a minute, and just give it OP gear from my vault and start farming the endgame content right away. Exactly, one of the main reasons why players do this is it makes each character feel like a fresh experience. In MMOs, people generally think endgame is where you want to be, and often skip the journey into it, which can be the funnest by far. Instead of taking the best items from your vault or stat potions for your brand new characters, with the PvE rules you have to find your own way, meaning that it has to go through the early and mid-game content first, before getting to the end game, and that has many struggles and wins, and tens of dungeons you would otherwise never experience again, which is essentially reviving a ton of dead content. Imagine for example if in a game like Binding of Isaac, you could take the items that you won with previously into the next try. You can imagine how dry that would make the game, because it would essentially make you be able to steamroll into the end game. On PvEs, when you do finally reach the end game content, it will feel more difficult and rewarding, since your character followed a story before it got to end game, and it's also really fun to see what you do get on your PvEs, which is another reason why it's so popular. It's fun to see what RNGesus has in store for you in terms of the loot you'll have to use. That's why PvE videos used to be really popular, because even if two PvEs choose the same class, they can be completely different. Also, reaching the highest potential power in an MMO can make it pretty stale, because you're left with nothing else to strive for. Like, I know there's exaltation farming for +1 stats, but it's pretty boring to be honest. And because of some recent updates in Realm of the Mad God, the ceiling of potential power that a character can reach has been significantly lowered. It's really easy to reach compared to what it used to be, because many of the endgame items you'd be striving for are much easier to obtain, and the gameplay is a lot easier. With a PvE, of course, reaching min-max power is extremely more difficult, since min-maxing requires you to get specific items that without trading would require you to do endgame dungeons, and this ultimately adds much more enjoyable playtime before the soulless exalt grind begins, if you do make it that far, that is. And when you do get into the endgame on a PvE, you're also going in on a weaker character, which would be more testing your knowledge of the game and your skill. Since many players would be encouraged to do PvEs, if there were to be a PvE mode, it would also be an effective way for Decker to cut back on the insane power creeping they kept adding to by releasing newer OP items constantly, and the exaltation system. If you've seen me do my organized runs on stream, you know what I'm talking about. We basically destroy any dungeon that's not Shatters in under 8 minutes. Also, when you are doing endgame dungeons, you have to be consistent as well, because white bags are normally quite hard to get, especially significant ones. You have to get back to your RPG farming roots and figure out how to maximize the amount of tries that you can in a set amount of time for a drop in the smallest time possible. Experienced players can skip 95% of the game and start farming exalts right away. Endgame players simply know too much to get the fresh experience they once had before. So not only does PvEs add so much longevity to existing content, but for a lot of people it makes a lot of the base game exist again. I don't know the last time I've done an Abyss, for example, to be honest. I don't know about you guys. And since PvEs would be more common, and these rules would restrict people to be able to just jump into the vault, fully max their characters and get OP gear, the game would be a lot slower for everyone, so people would be taking their time, and people wouldn't be able to meet the Discord Rex right away, so there'd be a lot more popularity in realms instead of bazaars and Discord runs. Maybe this would mean pub tombs are being brought back? Some players take this idea even further than that by playing a harder version like an NPE, which is a PPE with no pet allowed, or a UPE, where a character isn't allowed to use the tiered items they find, only the UTs and STs. Now you guys might be thinking, Seb, you've been smoking some crazy shit again. This idea is bad and you're bad. While the second part might be true, everyone knows how popular PPEs are, but why should Deca even bother making it a mode in the game? Well, this concept for games actually isn't new. Like for example, old school RuneScape, just like Realm of the Mad God, is a game that feels like it's been existing for way too long. It has a very dedicated player base, and OSRS has been living for 10 plus years, and one of the content creators within it blew up in popularity a few years ago because he started uploading a video series on an account he made with the PPE restrictions. So in RuneScape that would be basically no trading, and it was called Iron Man mode, or he called it Dead Man mode, I believe. Normally how people play the game is you have many skills and people usually focus on a few and trade for items that they're missing that other skills would normally provide that they're not leveling, because it's more efficient for them to focus all of their XP in one skill and make as much money as they can from that single skill and just trade for the items they're missing. But since the YouTuber made it a rule that he couldn't trade, he had to farm all different skills to get the items he required for quests and those sorts of things. And that basically opened up a lot of the game that was otherwise skipped. After the series blew up, OSRS mods added the Iron Man mode as a feature of the game, and since then the game had basically tripled in popularity. Many people wouldn't be playing OSRS or the newer RuneScape if Iron Man mode didn't exist, especially the latter one because it's pretty pay to win. I know with both games they also have a competitive aspect to it, like a ladder, so the people that are doing the Iron Man mode are competing against each other. And when you do add PvP-ish features to a game which is based around PvE, it adds so much longevity to the PvE content, because usually with PvE content it's the same old stuff, you just have to learn the patterns to consistently beat the content, but now that you're versing other people you have to find smart ways to farm faster or be more consistent than other players in unique ways. Ladder systems have also been an integral part of other games as well and made it a lot more fun, like for example Diablo 2 and Path of Exile. Adding that PvP competition within those games increased their longevity and would further increase a realm-like's longevity on top of the PvE mode. So that indirect PvP competition added so much longevity to those games, and it would increase a realm-like's longevity on top of the PvE mode, further than the PvE mode would. Old school RuneScape also added a group Iron Man, which is similar to how realm players do group PvEs, so that's another way that a realm-like could even further expand on this idea to make it even more fun. How a realm-like game like Realm of the Mad God, Dark's Dominion, or Beneath the Nexus could implement this is when a character is being created, you would be presented with the option to start the character as a PPE, or potentially even the other more difficult options like the NPE and UPE that I mentioned, or even more. And from the get-go, the rules are applied. So for example, on Realm of the Mad God, you wouldn't be able to access your vault, and the trade option with other players would be either grayed out or invisible. Also, bags that drop would either be invisible, or you'd be restricted from picking them up, and other players would be able to tell that you're a PPE through the in-game UI. Maybe like for example a red outline around the circle of the star badge thing, and a red square when you're being hovered over, and maybe different colours for the other modes like NPE and UPE. In RuneScape you have this symbol in chat if you're an Iron Man, for example. Being able to see if others are doing PPEs would be great, because it would encourage more people to do it too, and guarantee that they're not cheating, because that's way too easy to do. I'm a PPE on all of my characters at the moment, by the way, Capo. But yeah, even without the PvP indirect competition, it would be really fun and exciting. But if a realm-like wanted to elaborate on this, they could create that ladder system, and it could be something that could be added down the line after the PPE mode to reinvigorate the community again. Maybe after the PPE mode update slowed down. What I mean by the ladder system is like a point system to compare how players are doing against each other. A lot of players actually already do this as well. Like for example, with small discords, like with just friends or a guild, and the bigger discords, like raiding discords, what they often do is host PPE events or PPE contests where everyone starts at the same time. Each player documents in detail of the character's progression and viewable by everyone, and there's a point system determined and dictated by the organizers. If you haven't seen one of these, you'd be amazed at the drive and hype behind them, and there's usually a visible spreadsheet on how to get points for your PPE. Like for example, you could get 100 for maxing your vitality stat, 100 for getting a certain white bag, or 100 for soloing a dungeon. Players would eventually get tens or hundreds of whites, making their point scores massive. There should probably be a diminishing marginal return, but yeah, as you can imagine, I remember hosting one of these myself for my Discord, and it can be quite tedious for the player and the organizers, since the player has to screenshot every time they get a whites or when they max a stat, and the organizers have to count all of the points and make sure the players aren't cheating. Sometimes the players even have to clip every time they make progress, because it's harder to fake. Because there definitely is people that try to fake it for some fucking reason. An in-game ladder system would be so convenient when it comes to the score counting, and it would be so laid back and fun. Also, it could be designed to have a all-time leaderboard system, like the Fame in the game currently. And the benefit of that, instead of people only competing in their small communities, it could be a game-wide competition. I actually thought about this in detail while playing the previous open beta for Dar's Dominion, because the devs were so eager to make their game better. They were really open to constructive criticism and suggestions. Like for example, they added grenade indicators when I suggested it, and it makes the game look so much better. Honestly, with Dar's, I was a bit concerned because I felt like the game might be lacking content or interesting systems at this stage compared to other Realm likes, which is a bit silly of me since the game is still in development and they have a lot planned that they haven't done yet. But I was thinking about how much value a system like the PPE would add to current and future content. I really hope to see this in all Realm likes, to be honest, though I'm a bit concerned about it being added to Realm of the Mad God because of a few reasons. Firstly, people have been dying to bullshit lately, like TP invulnerability not working, or frame skips, and even with clear-cut recordings, you only get copy-pasted responses from support, which usually leads to mystery pots as compensations instead of a revive. So if you lose a PPE, which generally takes a lot more time to progress on than a character where you can access the vault, you might not be as happy. It might be a bit more annoying. Secondly, cheaters would dominate the PPE standings just like they do with the Fame ones. So the ladder system would be quite irrelevant, just like the Fame leaderboards is pretty irrelevant in the game for alive and dead players because of cheaters and people that pay to win. I'd rather if Deca fixed up their client first before adding such a mode, but if they want to keep the client in the current state for another year and still add the PPE mode, I'd be happy for it. Better than nothing. And I do hope to see this in all Realm likes because I think it would make all of them a lot more popular and fun for all. And it should be pretty time efficient to develop and implement for the amount of traction it would bring, at least before the score and ladder part. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I've still got a really special video I'm sitting on that I'll be releasing at 15,000 subscribers, so make sure to subscribe if you want to see a video funner than this one, like and comment what you think. I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.